So continuing on with some more of these iPhone 12 comparisons before the end of the year, I mean, someone has to do it. I'll go ahead and talk about the difference between the iPhone 12 and the OnePlus 8T. Now, I was fortunate enough to go ahead and actually pick up both these phones, which I was super happy about. Like, I love these phones a lot. Both these phones are great. And surprisingly, the OnePlus 8T is about the same age as the iPhone 12, around the same time the 12s came out, the 8Ts came out, which is very interesting because I had to do like both these comparisons back to back. But right now on Amazon, the OnePlus 8T is actually cheaper than the iPhone 12. So that's something to keep in mind. If you want to pick up either one of these though, I'll find the cheapest ones on Amazon, link them down in the description below. You can get them from there and help support the channel at the same time. Now looking on the outside of both of these, you can definitely see that there's definitely a pretty big difference. You know, the OnePlus 8T is the bigger phone than the iPhone 12. The 8T has that 6.55 inch Fluid AMOLED display and it's a 1080p panel. Now it kind of shares the same panel as the OnePlus 8, but here's the biggest thing to keep in mind. The OnePlus 8T has a 120Hz refresh rate on that panel, which is beautiful. It's amazing. I don't think it's like the best panel of this year, but I think it's definitely an improvement. And I just think that the panel on that phone is really, really good. I think anything you're going to do with it is going to be perfectly fine, and it's going to be future-proof for a while. The difference between 1080p and 1440p isn't really that big of a difference, but the difference between a 60Hz and 120Hz display is immensely different, and that's pretty much what you're seeing here. The iPhone 12, on the other hand, has a smaller 6.1-inch Super Retina XDR OLED panel, and this panel is actually higher resolution and has higher pixels per inch than the OnePlus 8T, which you might think is like a better sign that the iPhone 12's panel is better, and it definitely is a good looking panel too, and in some ways it may actually be a better panel, but in this specific case the OnePlus 8T is by far the winner. You are going to be having a better looking panel on the OnePlus 8T, the refresh rate is higher, and just the overall panel quality is better on the OnePlus 8T as well, and you don't even have a notch on that phone. You still have a notch on the iPhone 12, which is insane. We're going into 2020, going into 2021, all these other phone manufacturers have already removed that notch in favor of the hole punch display, and the iPhone 12 still has it, which is pretty insane. So in terms of the front panels, the OnePlus 8T definitely wins by far. Now they both have a little bit of a difference on the lightning ports on the bottom. I mean, the iPhone 12 has a lightning port, the OnePlus 8T has a USB Type-C port, so figure out which one you want from there and kind of move on from there. But on the back, they have glass backs on both, which I think is really good. That's just a given nowadays. However, the OnePlus 8T does have that frosted glass back on it. I mean, this is such a beautiful texture. It's the same thing that we had on the iPhone 12 Pros and on the iPhone 11 Pros. And it's a really nice feature of these specific devices. When you pick up a phone like this, you want to have that type of quality. You want to have, that feeling of a premium phone. And the fact that the 8T is cheaper than the iPhone 12 is insane to me right now. But the iPhone 12 has that standard glass back, which kind of feels a little dated, I'm not going to lie. So that's another big thing to keep in mind. You're going to have a better feeling phone from the OnePlus 8T than the iPhone 12 in my opinion. Now, on top of these glass backs, you are kind of getting different camera setups on both as well, which I'll go ahead and hit on right now. The OnePlus 8T has a quadruple camera setup, a 48 megapixel wide angle lens, a 16 megapixel ultra wide sensor, 5 megapixel macro lens, then a 2 megapixel depth sensor. With the iPhone 12 has a dual camera setup, a 12 megapixel wide, then a 12 megapixel ultra wide sensor. Now here's the thing, and here's the most important thing to keep in mind. Just because a phone has more camera sensors doesn't necessarily mean it's a better camera overall. And this is another classic case. I mean, we have a macro and depth lens. Who's going to use those? Like, it's just kind of like a showpiece, like, oh, look at my phone, it has more cameras. It really doesn't add that much if I'm being completely honest on a day-to-day basis. But they both can do 4K at 60, which is really nice. And I've said this before though, Android has always had more features built into their cameras than on iOS or on iPhones in general. So that's kind of an annoying thing if I'm being completely honest. I feel like if Apple were to extend, their software and just put more features in their cameras, that would make the cameras just that much better in my opinion. But regardless, you are still getting really good cameras on both. They both can do 4K 60 like I stated. However, I think the front cameras are where the bigger differences lie. So on the OnePlus 8T, you can only do 1080p videos at 30 frames per second, which is insane. It's a 16 megapixel sensor, which is good, but only 1080p, like that is insane to me. Whereas on the iPhone 12, we actually have that capability of doing 4K 60 on that front camera, which is amazing. And that's another really huge reason to pick up the iPhone 12. I mean, that's a really, really good camera setup on that phone. You're getting 4K 60 on the front and the back. With the OnePlus 8T, you're only getting 4K 60 on the back. So in my opinion, from testing both these cameras and using them for a while now, I can definitely tell you you're going to be getting a better camera setup overall on the iPhone 12 than on the OnePlus 8T in my opinion. So in terms of cameras, that pretty much covers it up. Now software experience wise, you're kind of comparing Android and iOS here. So if you like Android, go there. If you like iOS, go there. Luckily, both these things are pretty stock, so you're not going to feel like you have like a bloated version of software on either one of these, which is a huge asset for both. Now, are these perfect versions of software? Absolutely not. Both of them have flaws, they both experience issues and all that stuff and stuttering and stuff, but I have found that iOS sometimes is more, of a better and smoother experience than on Oxygen OS, so keep that in mind, but that's totally preference. Longevity-wise, this isn't preference. The iPhone 12 will be lasting longer than the OnePlus 8T on stock software support, but if you want to custom ROM your device and kind of go down that route, the OnePlus 8T will also last you a very, very long time for an Android device. So in terms of software, that pretty much covers it up. Now hitting on the performance side of things, this, believe it or not, is probably going to be one of the more boring sides of these specific devices. The OnePlus 8T has that Qualcomm Snapdragon 865 chipset, an octa-core CPU, an Adreno 650 GPU, and 8 gigs of RAM on that bottom tier model, and 12 gigs of RAM on that top tier model, where the iPhone 12 has that Apple A14 Bionic chip inside of it, hexa-core CPU, and 4 gigabytes of RAM on each model. So you are getting way more RAM, on paper on the OnePlus 8T, but that doesn't necessarily mean it is automatically the better performing phone by any means. So here's basically how I'll break it down. The OnePlus 8T for an Android phone is a very, very fast device, and it makes the phone feel that much smoother because of that 120 Hz refresh rate. So anything you're going to do with it is automatically, for the most part, going to feel so much smoother, so much faster, and all that good stuff, which is really nice, and I really do like that. On the iPhone 12, you don't have that 120 Hz refresh rate, but you have the smoothness factor within iOS. You don't have a lot of, things running in the background, so you have a fairly stock version of software with, reasonable specs for that specific phone, and you're getting a really good performing phone from this device as well. I wouldn't necessarily think one phone is way faster or way smoother than the other one, and I wouldn't necessarily go from one of these phones to the other one just based off the performance. I think there's other things and other reasons to go from, one phone to the other. I feel like the performance here is like, pretty much the same. I mean, sometimes it's faster, sometimes it's slower. It really just depends, but I'll probably tell you as a whole, the iPhone 12 feels smoother. The OnePlus 8T may be the faster phone overall. Like as soon as you click on an app, maybe it's automatically already open on the OnePlus 8T. The iPhone 12, maybe it takes an extra second. I will tell you the RAM management on OnePlus 8T may be better for the time being, so keep that in mind. But I think for the most part, you're getting very fast phones on both, and I don't really think one phone is going to be way extremely faster than the other one. And I personally, when I go from one phone to the other, just based off the performance in this specific standpoint. So in terms of performance, that pretty much covers it up. Now ending it off with the battery life, the OnePlus 8T has a massive 4,500 mAh battery, where the iPhone 12 has a 2,815 mAh battery inside of it. Now, there's a couple of different ways to look at it, okay? In sheer battery life, and I've already done a battery test between these, I never posted it, but you were getting better battery life by a lot on the OnePlus 8T than on the iPhone 12, and I think on my test, I could be wrong, and I think I already deleted the footage, but I think I still had like 45% battery life or over 45% battery life on my OnePlus 8T, where my iPhone 12 completely died. So that was an insane thing in my opinion. So you're definitely getting better battery life on the OnePlus 8T than the iPhone 12. But the biggest thing to keep in mind is that the iPhone 12 will be getting you wireless charging. The iPhone 12 has it. The OnePlus 8T does not have that type of capability, which really sucks in my opinion. So you're kind of already missing out in that standpoint, which is really, really weird. So you're getting a better performing battery life from the OnePlus 8T, but you're getting wireless charging on the iPhone 12, so keep that in mind. But in terms of everything, that pretty much covers it up. And to kind of sum up the video and to answer the question, should you go and pick up an iPhone 12 or should you go and pick up a OnePlus 8T? Well, let me tell you some pros and cons for the OnePlus 8T first. First of all, it's a cheaper phone technically than the iPhone 12 right now. So if you are planning on picking one of these up on Amazon, you're going to be finding a cheaper variant of both these phones on the OnePlus 8T side than the iPhone 12. You are getting a really beautiful screen. I mean, the screen on this thing is really, really nice looking. You have that 120 Hz refresh rate, which is beautiful, and you're kind of having a newer design. The iPhone 12 still has that older design on it. The OnePlus 8T looks like a futuristic phone still because it is like so much better looking. You have USB Type-C on this thing. You have a quad camera setup, whatever that means to you. You have a more premium feeling device on the OnePlus 8T than on the iPhone 12. As soon as you pick that phone up, it's going to feel like a very, very premium phone. The iPhone 12 still feels premium as well, but not as premium as the OnePlus 8T. But on the flip side, the iPhone 12 in some cases is also a better phone. I mean, you're getting wireless charging on this phone. You're getting IP certification as well. So the durability of the iPhone 12 is going to be better than on the OnePlus 8T. So that's another pretty big thing to keep in mind. You're getting software support for a very, very long time. So no matter what happens, you're going to be supported for many, many years to come. Probably much, much longer than the OnePlus 8T as well. So that's another really big thing to keep in mind. Resale value is also much better on the iPhone side. So if you plan on keeping one of these and reselling it, the iPhone 12 is a better way to go. Performance on the iPhone 12 is really, really good as well. It's very smooth. Anything I did with this phone, it just handled it like a champ for sure. The camera quality is better on the iPhone 12 as well, so keep that in mind. And I think if I had to pick up one, I would probably end up picking up the iPhone 12 just because I am more inclined of the, Apple ecosystem. I love that kind of stuff. But honestly, I think the OnePlus 8T is pretty much the same exact phone as well. It is a better phone in so many other categories than the iPhone 12. It just seems like whatever the iPhone 12 is kind of missing, the OnePlus 8T kind of has it. So in terms of everything, that pretty much covers it up. If you guys have any other questions or if you want to pick up these phones, like I stated, links will be down in the description below. Hit the like button if you guys enjoyed the video, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count. So it means so much if you guys could hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my other channels. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.